I was 22 years old when it happened. Living in a small town in Ohio. The kind of place where everybody waves when you drive past. Where the hardware store still has a jar of candy on the counter. Where the diner on Main Street knows your order before you sit down. I was working 2 jobs back then. Days at a lumber yard. Evenings stocking shelves at the grocery store. I wasn't struggling exactly. But I wasn't comfortable either. I was just grinding. Head down, moving forward. Not thinking too much about anything beyond the next shift. I didn't have a lot of room in my life for extra things. That's what I told myself anyway. It was a November night. Late. Around 11:30. I was driving home after my evening shift. Tired, a little hungry. Rain coming down in that cold sideways way. That makes you grateful for a roof and a heater. The road was mostly empty. Just the sound of wipers, the hiss of wet asphalt, the occasional flash of oncoming headlights. I was maybe 2 miles from home when I saw something on the side of the road. At first I thought it was a plastic bag, or a piece of cardboard that had blown off someone's truck. But something made me slow down. I pulled over, and when I got out of the car and walked around to look, I found a dog. Small, brown and white, soaking wet, lying on his side at the edge of the gravel, one front leg bent at an angle that made my stomach drop. He wasn't moving much, just breathing, those quick, shallow little breaths that tell you something is very wrong. He looked up at me. That was all. Just looked up. Like he was too tired to be afraid anymore. Like whatever happened next was out of his hands. I stood there in the rain for a second. I thought about my early shift tomorrow. I thought about my apartment, which barely had room for me. I thought about the fact that I knew nothing about dogs. Had never owned one. Had never really wanted to. And then I took off my jacket, wrapped it around him as carefully as I could, picked him up, and put him in the back seat of my car. The emergency vet was 12 miles away. I drove the whole way with one hand on the wheel and one eye on the rearview mirror, watching that little wrapped bundle in the back seat, talking to him the way people talk to things that might not make it. You're okay. I got you. Just stay with me. The vet's name was Dr. Renner, a tired-looking woman in her 50s with reading glasses on her head, and the kind of calm that only comes from doing something hard for a very long time. She took one look at the dog, then one look at me dripping water on her floor, and didn't ask any unnecessary questions. Broken leg. Some bruising. Likely hit by a car that didn't stop. Dehydrated. But no internal bleeding. Nothing that couldn't be fixed, with time and care. She looked at me over her glasses. He's lucky you stopped, she said. I paid the emergency fee on my debit card and tried not to think about what that meant for my grocery budget. They kept him overnight for observation. The next morning, I went back. He was in a small recovery kennel, leg in a splint, wearing one of those plastic cone collars that make dogs look both pitiful and faintly ridiculous. He was awake, alert, and when I walked up and crouched down in front of the kennel, he lifted his head and his tail moved just once. A slow, uncertain wag, like he was asking a question. Is it really you? Are you really back? I named him Bruno on the drive home. I don't know why that name. It just fit. He looked like a Bruno. The first few weeks were an education. I bought a dog bed, a food bowl, a bag of kibble, and a chew toy. All things I'd never had reason to buy before. I learned how to give him his medication wrapped in a piece of cheese. I learned that he hated thunderstorms but loved car rides. I learned that he would wait by the door at exactly the time. I usually got home, not 5 minutes before, not 5 minutes after, like he had a clock somewhere inside, him calibrated specifically to me. I learned what it felt like to be someone's whole world. That's a heavy thing, and a beautiful one. He wasn't easy at first. He was nervous. He startled at loud sounds. He didn't trust easily, which made sense. The world had treated him roughly. He'd learned that strangers didn't always stop. But slowly, in the way that trust always builds, quietly, through repetition, through showing up, he settled. He stopped flinching. He started sleeping in the middle of the bed, sprawled out like he owned the place, which I chose to interpret as a sign of full recovery. 3 months after I found him on that road, it was a Thursday night in February. I'd worked a long day, got home around 9, made something quick for dinner, watched a little TV. Bruno curled up beside me on the couch, his head resting on my knee, and I fell asleep there. Something I did more often than I should, too tired to make it to the actual bed. Sometime around 2 in the morning, I woke up. Not gradually, not the slow soft waking up of a good night's sleep. I woke up suddenly, jarred out of something, confused about where I was. Bruno was standing on the cushion beside me, whining, not barking. Bruno wasn't much of a barker, but whining in this high, steady, urgent way that I had never heard from him before. And when I opened my eyes and looked at him, he wasn't looking at me. He was looking toward the kitchen. I sat up, still half asleep, a little annoyed, starting to say something like, "What is it, bud?" And then I smelled it. Gas, that heavy, unmistakable chemical smell, not like a gas burner you forgot to turn all the way off. Stronger than that. The kind of smell that makes something primal in you go very still. I got up, walked to the kitchen. The knob on the back burner, the one that had been a little loose for months, the one I'd been meaning to get fixed, was turned. Not all day, not to full flame, but enough. Turned just enough that gas had been leaking into the apartment, slowly for who knows how long while I slept on the couch. I turned it off, opened every window, grabbed Bruno and walked outside into the cold February air and stood there on the sidewalk, in my socks, shaking not from the cold. The apartment aired out in about 40 minutes. I sat on the front step the whole time, Bruno pressed against my leg, my hand on his back, both of us just breathing. I kept running the math in my head. If he hadn't woken me up, if he'd been a dog who didn't notice, or noticed but didn't say anything, or said something and I'd slept through it, I might have just kept sleeping until I couldn't anymore. It's not a thought I let myself stay inside for too long, but it's one I've never been able to shake completely. Here is what I know now, that I didn't know when I was 22 years old, pulling over on a rainy November road, because something in me couldn't just drive past. Kindness is not a transaction. You don't do a good thing because of what you'll get back. You don't stop on a dark road and pick up an injured animal because you're expecting a return on the investment. That's not how it works, and that's not why you do it. You do it because it's right. You do it because there's a small living thing that needs help, and you have the ability to help, and that's enough reason. And then sometimes, not always, but sometimes life has a kind of quiet mathematics that we don't fully understand, a way of folding things back around, a way of completing circles we didn't even know we'd started drawing. Bruno didn't save me because he owed me. Dogs don't work that way. There's no ledger in Bruno's heart with debts and credits. There's just love, big, whole, uncomplicated love, and alertness and loyalty, and the fact that he was awake at 2 in the morning, noticing things I had stopped noticing. He saved me because I was his person. That's all. Bruno is 7 now. He still sleeps in the middle of the bed. He still knows exactly when I'm coming home. He still hates thunderstorms and loves car rides and will eat approximately anything that falls on the kitchen floor before I can pick it up. His leg healed clean. You'd never know, watching him run across a field, that anything had ever happened to it. He has a good life. I like to think he knows that. So tonight, as you drift towards sleep, think about the times you stopped, when it would have been easier to keep driving, and you didn't, when it would have been easier to look away, and you looked, when you made a small choice that cost you something: time, money, comfort, and you made it anyway, because something in you said this matters. Those moments don't disappear. They fold into the world and become part of something larger than you can see from where you're standing. You don't always know what your kindness does after you let it go, but it does something. It always does something. Let your breathing slow now. Feel the weight of your body sink down. If there's someone or something in your life that loves you simply and completely, think of them tonight. Let that feeling sit with you as you sleep. You are cared for. You are watched over. More than you know. Good night.